Oh my god. I think that's GG. Especially with that drop. Yeah, there's no way I can come back to that. GG.
Alright, so go ahead and load up that replay and pause it at 0, put the speed on ×4.
Okay.
Let me know when you're there.
Yep.
Okay, so before we begin, there's a couple things that I want to focus in on as kind of overarching concepts that I'm going to be hitting on as we go throughout the replay, but I want you to be kind of aware of these things just at the forefront. Now, part of what makes Protoss successful in all the matchups, so this actually transcends PvT and is more just towards general gameplay, is their information and then reacting to that information. Okay, so you went Blink Stalker, which is a fantastic passive ability in this matchup, meaning that if I'm going to drop you, you can blink under it and snipe it. Once you get those Colossus up, if I have any Vikings, you can blink under them and snipe them, etc. But as like a first, I guess like a premier strategy, meaning that you didn't go Colossus, you didn't go DT, you went straight to Blink Stalkers.
Yeah.
That's more for maybe a PvP type timing or PvP timing, but it's not really a PvT strategy, okay? Because it just doesn't really have any benefit. The Marauder still slows you down.
I accidentally, because I'm using grid, and I thought I had a probe selected. I thought I was going in to build a pylon, and I accidentally built Twilight Council instead of a Robo. So I was planning on going 3-gate Robo, but...
Hey, if you could do me a favor and either put the mic close to your mouth or speak up or something, I'm not quite sure, but I was having a tough time hearing you.
Sorry. I meant to go a 3-gate Robo, but I totally misclicked, and I don't know. So I just kind of went with the Twilight Council thing. I probably should have followed it up with either GTs or a 10 when I saw that you went Mass Bio, but
yeah,
I didn't either. And I was way too slow with my Colossus attack, and then you sniped my Robo Bay.
Okay, then it was just kind of a misclick that you went with. That's fine then. In general, what I'm going to talk to you about for this map, for this game, excuse me, is going to be information gathering through scouting. And there was brief moments where you were kind of hitting on that. And again, of course, if you don't have the Robo, it's really hard to get that observer. I mean, you're not going to have an observer out, which is, you know, the mainstay of your scouting, so it's understandable. But even if you like accidentally or purposefully go Blink Stalkers, you have to take advantage of their mobility. So the fact that I had the Zelnaga Towers for as long as I did is unacceptable. You need to clear them from me and then replace it with your own probe. There's other things Protoss can do, like proxy pylons around the map. And I don't mean like 13 or 14 of them, but if you just put 2 or 3 at spots where dropships tend to go, then that's going to give you additional information. So if you see 3 dropships hovering over a pylon on the right side of the map, guess what? They're probably not just sightseeing. You know, they're going to go drop you. Now, the next thing I want to talk about too, and this is actually tremendously helpful for your Protoss play, and this is actually reminiscent of how Zergs need to do it as well in a different way. You need to do what I call a pylon perimeter in your main, meaning that along the edges of your main kind of raised ground, there needs to be sporadic pylons extending your vision beyond the physical boundaries of your base.
Yeah.
That's going to give you an extra 3 or 4 more seconds to see a drop coming, a Banshee or whatever, just additional information. And that doesn't sound like much, but that can be the difference between Blue Flame Hellions killing everything in your mineral line or you getting them out of there safely.
Yeah.
If anything, it's just a question of mitigation, right? Like is it that helpful to have 3 seconds more of a head start? No, but what's the argument against it? It's better to have 3 seconds. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, play, and I want you to hit play on play.
Oh, I already hit play when you did 3, 2, 1, play. Sorry.
Just go ahead.
I'm at 11 seconds.
Back to 0.
Oh, alright. Alright.
Ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, play. So the last couple of things I'm going to be looking for is just general gameplay stuff, making sure you're utilizing your Chrono Boost, and kind of checking out your build order. Now I know you said you forgot to scout, but typically in PvT you want to scout after the 9 pylon.
I usually send that probe out. I don't know why. It slipped my mind.
It's just so you can harass and kill SCVs and just kind of get an idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And already we're seeing a little bit of a surplus of Chrono Boost that's not needed. Go ahead and use up all your Chrono Boost up until the Cybernetics core.
Okay.
On probes.
So when I lay down my Psycore, I should start saving it up?
Not necessarily saving it up, but using it on things like Chrono Boosting out your Sentry or Stalker or the Warp Gate upgrade.
Yeah, well, I meant like save up to use when I can start
Yes.
Warp Gate or start to build a Stalker and all that.
Correct. Previous to that, it should all be on probes.
Okay.
There's that Twilight Council. You're not really utilizing your second gas. Took you a little bit while to get on there, so you just have to watch for that. Let's go ahead and pause here.
Alright.
Okay, so I'm at 7:05, and there's a couple things I want to talk about.
Sure.
So first and foremost, the build got messed up, obviously, so there's a little bit of impromptu play going on here. We're just going to incur sloppiness, and that's okay. But there's a couple concepts I want to talk to you about. And this is again, general gameplay, so this goes beyond Protoss. These are just things I want you to be aware of and focus on. So when I say that I don't have any delusions, and hopefully you don't either, where I just tell you, hey, don't get supply blocked, and from this day forward, you never get supply blocked.
Yeah.
It's obviously not, it doesn't work that way. But what is important is for me to say, listen, there's a couple things we need to mentally focus on, and for the next couple weeks, it's going to feel clunky and weird, but eventually it'll become muscle memory and you'll be fine. And that is that each and every time you get within 4 or 5 supply, you should be building at least a pylon. And it's going to become a rhythm eventually. Eventually, you're just going to be building pylons without ever looking at your supply. Right now, what it is you're getting within 2 or supply cap and building a pylon. And what happens is that you tier your money that way. See how you're at 600 minerals now?
Yeah.
It's because you can't spend it. And that's what happened earlier. And this is going to continue to grow because off of only 3 gateways, what infrastructure can you possibly... I mean, you know, this pylon's just now getting started, so once it finishes, you'll be at about 1,000 minerals. You'll warp in 3 guys, and now you're up to 700. And the problem continues to repeat itself. So there's a couple things. One, the earlier pylon, so looking to hit it at 4 or 5, 6 supply earlier. And then as you get to the midpoint of the game, it's more like 10, 15. And then the late part, it's more like 20.
Okay.
But the next thing you can say, too, is, okay, I've got 600 minerals. I'm about to be supply blocked. I do have 1 pylon started. Let's go ahead and build 2 more so that we have 3. And I want you to look at that as a Band-Aid process. A, you're not spending your money, and B, you're about to be supply blocked, so let's do 2 birds, 1 stone. Let's spend some of that money that otherwise I couldn't, but also alleviate myself from the stress of having to build the timely pylon after that.
Yeah, I
Does
think
that make sense?
I pretty much always do that, where I'll realize, oh man, I'm about to be supply blocked, and then I'll throw down a bunch, and then I'll forget about it again, and then it just keeps getting worse. I'm usually pretty on top of it in the early game, but I just get distracted.
There's a couple techniques that actually do work. That's why it sounds silly, but I can tell you're taking the game serious if you're paying me to tell you how to get better. And that is that put a couple sticky notes next to your computer, on the wall, on the whatever it is you have, maybe even on the monitor itself, and just have it say 5 to 10 supply, build a pylon. As silly as that sounds, that little reminder is going to help you catch some of these more, well, not more necessarily, but some of these supply blocks that you're experiencing.
Okay.
Because it sounds like you do B part just fine. You build multiple pylons when your money racks up, and that's great. Okay, so the next couple of things to talk about here are, and this is just me nitpicking, but if this makes you just 1% better, then I can rest my hat on that.
Yeah.
Make sure with your stalkers and sentry, you're all the way up against the ramp. You want to see, even if it's just a flicker of units on the outskirts of your vision, that allows you to say, holy cow, I got to focus on the ramp because my opponent's here right now.
Yeah.
But if you're off the ramp like you are, then you run the risk of them showing up, stimming, running up the ramp, and now you're in trouble. There's a whole army up there. Okay? Alright, so 3, 2, 1, play. You're doing a great job of using your Chrono Boost. That was a fantastically timed pylon, so is this one. So, yeah, you do a good job with it. And then we've got kind of, the mess up with the blink, so we've got kind of a weird army, but it is what it is. And then you tried it for the pylon, I like this, and then you cleared it with the stalkers. That's good. What I want you to do is clear the other one now as well, especially if you have blink, okay?
Alright. I was scared.
And hopefully you don't have blink at this stage in the future.
Because I figured when I'm Terran, I usually kind of try to aggressively keep my armies at one of the Zelnaga towers and make sure I always have control of both of them. So I was kind of scared to go and lose a couple stalkers to a big force at the other tower. But that made no sense in hindsight. So
yeah,
that made absolutely no sense.
So right here, a couple things. Go ahead and pause here as well.
Okay.
I'm at 12:54. A couple things I'll let you look at. One, you're doing a fantastic job of managing your supply. So that's obviously not an issue. That's just something that happened a couple times. But two, we are having a tough time spending your money. Now, there's a couple things that go hand in hand. When a Protoss has a tough time spending their money, there's a couple issues that I look to first. One, are they getting supply blocked? You? No, you're not. Two, are they chrono boosting? You're not chrono boosting.
Yeah.
We have 100 energy on the main nexus, and we've got nearly 60 at the natural. Now, there's a couple things. It's like, well, what do I